Hello, a very warm welcome to this video. So in this video I'll be talking briefly about kind of Satanism in the Bible. I'll be doing a series of short videos upon this, beginning with kind of Isaiah, a famous passage which some believe to be referring to the fall of Lucifer, and they equate Lucifer with Satan, and therefore come to the conclusion that the adversary, or the enemy, which is talked about particularly substantially in the New Testament, is actually referring to a fallen angel, and this fallen angel goes under the name of Lucifer. I'll be trying to explain why this interpretation seems unlikely to be true, and this will be the first in a series looking at how Satan is described in the Bible, and often comparing this to kind of satanic thoughts on Satanism and on Satan. However, this episode will be mainly about debunking arguably a unspoken of mostly myth concerning a particular passage in Isaiah, and I'll go on to that in a sec. So the passage I'll be kind of talking about is Isaiah 14 verses 12 to 15. I'll briefly read it and then cover why, although this is using the word Lucifer, this probably is not referring to Satan, at least in the traditional sense of the word. So anyway, here we go. So it reads, "How you have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven, I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly, on the utmost heights of the sacred mountain. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to Sheol, the depths of the pit." Now, firstly, it's worth commenting on the name Lucifer, because modern day kind of Christian theology surrounding this has imposed so much upon kind of people's perception of Satan and Lucifer that now it's unspoken of assumption that many hold that Lucifer and Satan are the same thing. However, the word Satan actually has a completely different root to the word Lucifer. The word Lucifer comes from the Hebrew halal sahar, and it basically means day star. And what it's referring to is either the planet Venus or Jupiter, which kind of can be seen kind of sometimes in the early morning, and is seen, in other words, like a bright star, like a morning star. And therefore, firstly, it's symbolic. It's not referring to a being in particular, or you know, a fallen angel, or anything. It's symbolic. And so then we need to ask, okay, what is this symbolism referring to? Well, if we look at kind of the context in which this is wrote, this is probably referring to a Babylonian king by the name Nebuchadnezzar. And this Babylonian king, arguably like many kings at that time, and also even some rulers today, view themselves as being kind of the ultimate authority, the ultimate power in the world, and because humans tend to focus on humanity and their power within humanity, and only that so much, that quickly exaggerates to a concept of being the most powerful thing in the universe. And indeed, what this passage is talking is a king's pride, to the point at which they start to view themselves as being kind of equal to God, equal to kind of the ruler of the universe. And therefore what's really talking about is the fault and the pride in the Babylonian king, which is applicable to rulers today, and depending upon your viewpoints of who Satan originally was, may well be applicable to Satan, but this passage is not about Satan. And that's very different to passages, for example, passages in Peter 1, where Peter does kind of refer to essentially being vigilant, because you do have an adversary who wishes to destroy you. And there we have something a bit more explicit about some kind of force that opposes God, or those that believe and follow God. However, this passage isn't doing this. Also, there are other passages such as Job, where the word kind of Satan is more used as a title in the form of the Satan. So it's a title of kind of somebody that kind of causes almost suffering or leads somebody away from God by testing their faith. Again, it's not referring to an actual person, and the passage of Job is likely to be itself metaphorical. It's not probably literal, as can be seen from its rather fairy tale-like ending. I'm not saying that people haven't suffered due to their religious belief, but I don't believe Job is literal, and even if it is, it doesn't refer to a specific being by the word Satan. It's using the word Satan as a kind of generic title for, in my opinion, a metaphorical illustration of what it feels like to be tested under faith. And that kind of idea of being tested under faith, I feel, is very applicable not just to Christianity, but to all religions, including Satanism. Because Satanists are also, arguably, particularly in kind of the modern day world, arguably are judged a lot for their belief and do suffer for it. So, even Satanists can find, hopefully, a fair amount of comfort in the story of Job and sympathise with Job's position somewhat. But this has been a brief episode to just talk about Isaiah and hopefully debunk a little bit of a myth surrounding the passage. There is a lot more that could be said, but I think this is a good place to kind of end this episode for now. Wishing you all the best, and Ave Ceteris.